much for that.
Good morning, everyone. There we go. Good morning. I'm Jennifer Martin from Delta's Corporate Communications Department. Thank you all for being here this morning. It's an exciting day for Delta and the city and state of New York. We have an exciting, distinguished group of speakers here this morning. We will then have a brief media Q&A, and then we will escort you airside to be part of the groundbreaking ceremony this morning. This time I'd like to introduce Gail Grimmett, Delta's Senior Vice President for New York.
Good morning. On behalf of Richard Anderson, Delta's CEO, and Ed Bastian, Delta's President, and myself, I want to welcome you here today. I especially want to thank our invited guests, Mayor Bloomberg, Congressman Crowley, Executive Director Foy, and Lieutenant Governor Duffy for joining us in today's event. They've each played a vital role in helping what is a historic growth here at LaGuardia. This is the largest growth that by any single carrier that LaGuardia has had in over 40 years. Today's investment of $160 million into LaGuardia represents that historic growth. What you will see when we go down to the ramp, we will be breaking ground on what will be a 600-foot connector that will connect this Terminal D to our new terminal at Terminal C for our customers. But that investment isn't just for making an investment in infrastructure. It really is about Delta's investment in the customer. Part of that $160 million is for the connector, but you'll also see other airport improvements during the course of this year. We'll have a new Sky Club in Terminal C. We'll have an expanded Sky Club here in Terminal D. We'll have extra security lines. And for us, it's really about making this customer experience. We want to deliver a premium experience to all of our passengers. You've noticed the changes in the customer experience here at the airport with our partners at OTG. We'll be doing the same thing over at Terminal C, again, just to create an environment and making sure that from curb to baggage, we're providing the right environment for everyone. We couldn't be prouder of making this investment, and in particular making this investment in New York. It benefits the city, it benefits the state, and it benefits all of our loyal customers. There were a large number of people that made it happen. This was a long time. It was a long time coming, and so I want to recognize the people here today who have really helped contribute to us being here in front of you today. New York City Comptroller John Liu, Queensborough President Helen Marshall, Councilmember Karen Koslowitz, Councilmember Dan Halloran, Councilmember Peter Koo, Councilmember Daniel Drum, Councilmember Leroy Comrie, and Councilmember Reuben Wills, who, by the way, both did an exceptional job boarding our passengers at our inaugural flight the previous week. It was a nice surprise and delight for our customers. Councilmember Liz Crowley, Assemblymember Arabella Simotis, Senator Michael Gianaris, Senator Jose Peralta, and Assemblyman Francesco Moya. None of this could have gotten done without the support of the city and the state and our partners that we have here with us today, and we're especially grateful and proud to be part of that partnership. And so with that, I'm going to introduce Richard Anderson, Delta's CEO.
Thank you all for being here today. It's a privilege to be here with so many good colleagues. We've had steadfast support from the Congressman Crowley. It's been several years. I've been in your office dozens and dozens of times. You've been a steadfast supporter. The Mayor Bloomberg, we've been working on this about 3 years, and it wouldn't have happened except for the leadership that we have here. The Port Authority, Pat and his predecessors, and of course the governor's office, so the lieutenant governor here. So the first thing to do is to always thank the people that are your steadfast supporters. And on behalf of the 80,000 people of Delta and the 160 million passengers we carry a year, thank you very much for supporting us. The second thing is to thank the employees of Delta. You know, the airlines fly a lot of the same airplanes, and the difference at Delta are our people, and this is as much an investment in the people of Delta Airlines. And I'm always humbled to be with you and to be thankful that you serve Delta and serve our passengers. So thank you for that. To the New York community, we will be the best citizen, the very best corporate citizen in this community. We are committed to giving back to the community, not just in the 7,000 jobs that we have across the New York area and the state of New York, but also in providing high levels of customer service. So our commitment to New York isn't just the $160 million investment here. We have a $1.4 billion construction project underway right now at Terminal 4 at JFK, where we're the largest operator in JFK. So we are going long and going deep. This is a relationship that started in 1938 with the first Delta flight. And we now want to earn your ridership, your loyalty. We know we have to earn it every day. And fortunately, we have the best employees in the industry and the best partnerships in the community. And we won't let you down, either as a supporter of important causes in the community or providing very high levels of customer service. So thank you all for being here today. And do I turn it back to Gail? Thank you.
We're not just, we don't consider ourselves just a tenant for the Port Authority, but really a partner for the Port Authority. And the port has been a tremendous partner for us and with us as we've embarked on this growth and expansion plan. And in particular, most recently, as you see the construction that's going on, the port's commitment to customer service and the customer experience is equally as strong as our own. And we couldn't be more pleased to have Executive Director Pat Foy with us this morning.
Thank you, Gail. Thanks very much. As the Executive Director of the Port Authority, a native of Queens, I grew up in the flight path of LaGuardia, I want to bring congratulations and thanks on behalf of another native of Queens, which is Governor Cuomo. Lieutenant Governor Duffy is with us today, but this is a terrific event, and I want to thank and congratulate Richard Anderson and all his colleagues at Delta. This is an extraordinarily important thing for three reasons. As Richard said, Delta is in the process of investing well over $1 billion at this airport and JFK, making Delta the largest carrier at JFK, and when this investment is concluded, here at LaGuardia. We congratulate you and thank you for that. Second is that investment of well over $1 billion here at LaGuardia and Kennedy is going to create construction jobs in the short term, but also permanent jobs both in the Delta workforce and in the city and the state and the region beyond that. As the governor and Mayor Bloomberg have known and been leaders on the issue of increasing the number of people who come to New York, both domestically and internationally, and Delta plays a key role in that. Every out-of-town or out-of-country visitor spends thousands of dollars in the city, the state, and the region, and that in turn creates jobs. So on behalf of the Port Authority, which has had a successful and growing relationship with Delta for decades now, we thank and congratulate Delta, look forward to completion of this project and the investment of well over $1 billion. Thanks, Gail.
Richard talked about going up to Washington and spending time with the congressman, and I have to say we could not have asked for a stronger champion of this expansion than Congressman Crowley. He was our voice in Washington. He took the initiative to start a letter from the delegation to support the growth, support the jobs, support the investment, and so we're very pleased to have you here this morning with us. Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you, Gail, very much. I'm incredibly pleased to be here today and to welcome Richard back to Queens. Yes, there were many meetings in our office, but we're here today to celebrate the fruition of all that work. So I thank you so much. I want to thank Pat as well and the Port Authority for all their work in helping to put this together as well. Today marks a significant milestone in Delta's long relationship with LaGuardia Airport and our Queens community. Today, because of their strong commitment to LaGuardia, Queens, Delta is investing $160 million into our city right here in our borough of Queens. These days, commitments like this don't happen often enough, which is why I'm thrilled that officials, and they've all been mentioned here earlier, of all levels of government, were able to come together with a strong private sector partner to make this job-creating investment a reality. I often say that LaGuardia will never be a perfect neighbor, but we can do more to make it a better one. And Delta is helping to make that a reality. With its fleet of newer planes, the airport will be able to handle more passengers in more cities without increasing the noise that Queens residents live with every day. And most importantly, this investment will create hundreds of jobs at a time when we desperately need them most. Delta's decision to plant their roots deeper into our city shows that even at a time when much of the country is struggling to keep its head above water, New York City and Queens County are still some of the best places to invest in. This is truly a testament to the resiliency and the dynamism of our community. It's a win-win for all parties involved. Having a major airport in my district and flying several times a week, and I recognize some of the folks here today, has given me a unique perspective on the challenges facing our aviation system at a time of shrinking budgets. So I know how truly remarkable this is to have a private sector partner like Delta, who is willing to step up to the plate and invest in one of our vital transportation hubs. Thanks to their leadership and to the continued commitment of the Port Authority, our city is now more connected to the rest of the country and the world than ever before, which is important to making Queens an even more critical component of the city's travel and tourism industry, and is extremely important to our long-term vision for Queens County, because the critical investments that we're going to make in places like Willets Point, not too far from here, and the mayor's leading the charge in the new tech campus on Roosevelt Island will only be successful if they are able to access New York City. And not only New York City, they have to come from all over the world and all over the country to be here. Some people said that this would never happen, but we are here to say today, ladies and gentlemen, turn off your electronic devices, buckle your seats. This project is ready for takeoff, and I know we're going to hear from the city's chief pilot, Mayor Bloomberg, next.
New York really weathered the economic downturn far better than many other cities out there, in part due to the mayor's cause and championing of tourism here in the city. We couldn't be prouder now, as the congressman had mentioned, with the same number of departures that exist at LaGuardia today. Because of us enhancing the service with regional jets, we have the ability to bring in more than 4 million more seats a year today than what existed prior. And the mayor's office could not have been more supportive of us as we continue to want to partner with the city for both investment in the city as well as the opportunity to continue to push tourism in New York. And so it's with great pleasure that I introduce Mayor Bloomberg.
Gail, thank you, and Richard, thank you. Pleasure to welcome you both back to New York, the aviation capital of the nation. And that is not just an idle boast, it is a fact. If you look at the three major airports serving our city, they have more flights that carry more passengers to more cities here and abroad than any other aviation hub in the United States. And over the past 10 years, our administration has facilitated the financing of more than $1.4 billion in airport improvements in our city. And I'm happy to say that air travel in and out of New York has grown significantly during that time. Last year, more than 105 million passengers arrived and departed from the three major airports serving our city. And that's compared to about 81 million passengers back in 2002. So it's a dramatic increase, roughly 25%. Today, more than 68,000 people work at those three major airports, including some 10,000 here at LaGuardia. And that's about 8,300 more than worked at the airports 10 years ago. And the airports generate more than $65 billion in economic activity annually. And I will say, working with the Port Authority and its dynamic new executive director, I was told to say dynamic. Did you call the speechwriter and stick it in here? Pat Foy. Seriously, Pat has just done a spectacular job. I think if you look at all the Port Authority projects, they're moving ahead rapidly, and we couldn't ask for any more. And the cooperation between the Port Authority and New York City is just extraordinary, and we look forward to continuing that. We're confident this impact of these airports will be even bigger in the future. And I will say to the Congressman, While he unfortunately doesn't give 100% of everything the federal government has to New York City, we deserve it. Now, I will let the press work over the lieutenant governor. Lieutenant governor has this concept that there is part of New York outside of New York City that he has a responsibility for. I've been trying to dissuade him from that notion. But anyways, we always welcome Lieutenant Governor here. He is a former mayor, really does understand the needs of cities, and he's been great as a voice in Washington, and he's got an extraordinary partnership with Governor Cuomo that I think is serving this state well. You know, when the historic expansion of Delta's domestic service at LaGuardia gets completed this summer, it will add 100 new daily flights to and from our city, and it will make New York an even busier hub. LaGuardia will become an even more attractive place for business travelers that are the airport's bread and butter. And this expansion also, incidentally, and not just incidentally the people whose jobs these are, this expansion creates 135 construction jobs here at LaGuardia and will also add 700 permanent Delta Airlines jobs at LaGuardia. As always, we are glad to welcome new aviation industry jobs as well as new visitors to our city. And just let me point out that Delta is greatly expanding its international service at Kennedy as well, which is also going to create more jobs and more economic activity in our city. I do want everybody at Delta to know that your investment in increasing and modernizing airport services at New York's airports is money well spent. New York is the nation's #1 travel destination. In fact, despite the sluggish national economy, we've just come off a record year for tourism, as Gail mentioned. In 2011, we welcomed some 50.5 million visitors, and now we've set a new goal of welcoming 55 million visitors by 2015. And with the work of our great marketing and tourism promotion team at NYC and Company, and with all of the attractions that New York has to offer, we are absolutely confident that we are going to make this happen. What you have to do if you want tourism is you have to have low crime and clean streets and great cultural institutions and an enormously welcoming, diverse population that really does welcome people from around the world and has a lot in common with them. Everybody I keep talking to says, I just can't believe what a wonderful city New York is when I come to visit. We're also confident that from now on, more and more visitors to our city will choose to come to New York on the new Delta flights arriving at LaGuardia. So you'll be happy about that. So on behalf of all the people of New York City, let me say congratulations and let's keep climbing together. All the best. You got to know your market.
Our head of marketing is going to love that. The governor's Open for Business campaign, it couldn't be stronger. He couldn't be more vocal about it. And the Lieutenant Governor Duffy has been such a strong voice in leading up all of the regional economic development councils throughout the state. The mayor is right. There are other cities outside of New York City within the state. And while we have our hubs here at JFK and LaGuardia, we serve 11 airports throughout the state. And it's not just the city that will benefit from this enhanced service. All of upstate New York is getting more seats as well as enhanced service with the 2-class regional jets that we're flying up there. The governor's office could not be more supportive of us in this effort of growth and partnering with us in getting this accomplished as we've continued to push forward on this endeavor. So with great pleasure, Lieutenant Governor Duffy.
First of all, on behalf of Governor Cuomo, I want to, on behalf of our Assembly and Senate members who were recognized before, I want to thank Richard Anderson. I want to thank Ed Bastian, Gail Grimmett, and all the great employees of Delta for this incredible expansion. This is $1.4 billion into the city. I think it's $160 million here at LaGuardia. It is a huge investment. It is a great opportunity for jobs. I want to thank the mayor of the greatest city in the world and a great mayor, Mike Bloomberg, for all of his support with this. The dynamic head of the Port Authority. I want to thank Pat Foy for all of his help. And Congressman Joe Crowley, an old friend. I expect to see Joe Crowley on one of the future Delta flights giving those announcements pre-flight. He has a burgeoning career in this industry. One thing that I think is important to note, we hear about the impact here in New York City. I grew up just a short 6-hour drive from Queens, west of Queens. And we look at the upstate cities in New York State, they have not been always well served in terms of airline traffic. It impacts business. It impacts business growth. It impacts the ability to attract people. And a lot of companies have left upstate New York because they really can't justify the expenses for some of the travel. What this does, and as Gail mentioned before, this expands a lot of those lines, Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo, all from upstate cities to New York and other places. It is a wonderful expansion, I think, with very widespread impact. So on behalf of Governor Cuomo, we are very, very proud to be a partner with everybody, and I think this is a living proof that when you have leadership federally, locally, from the state, everybody working together with the private sector, good things happen. And I'll close by saying this. I'm a customer of Delta. I'm a very proud customer. I fly Delta quite a bit. I'm going to push for a little more legroom, along with Joe Crowley. We want a little bit more of that, but they have their service, their hospitality, their punctuality has been tremendous, and we welcome their expansion. They are a great partner for us. They are a great airline. This is a great day for New York, so thank you very much.
Thank you to all of our speakers today. We have time for 2 to 3 media questions focused on today's groundbreaking. If you could just state your name and your news organization, that would be great.
Question for Mr. Ford. Dave Side here for the Phillies. Given all the expansion of the airline facilities in the city and in Newark, why do these surveys keep coming out showing that New York Airport is ranking low among travelers?
Yeah, the answer is not acceptable to me. We're announcing in the next short period a 90-day plan to have cleaner restrooms, more customer service representatives, et cetera. Dave, part of the answer to your question is actually in the $1.4 billion Delta investment, which is going to result in a new Delta terminal at JFK. I think in the eyes of everyone, the existing terminal is not ideal. Beyond that, the Port Authority has plans to, over a period of years, invest $3.5 billion in the Central Terminal building, which is occupied by Delta competitors. I'm not going to speak about that at any length. But the Central Terminal building does not live up to Port Authority expectations. My goal... I'm not going to compete with a final boarding call. My goal is not to be on the Frommer's list in 12 to 24 months.
Bobby Kuza from New York One. I'm wondering what the city and state support was for this project. Was it in the form of, was there any government subsidies or tax breaks? Was there assistance with the financing?
No, that's the great thing about this partnership. We didn't ask for any tax dollars. What we really needed was the support in Washington to get the regulatory approvals that we needed, the support from the Port Authority to give us the permits and the support to be able to get the construction done, and importantly, Congressman Crowley, who I think every week was at DOJ or DOT advocating on our behalf to be able to get all the necessary government approvals. So that's the great thing about this partnership. At JFK, it's been a great financing partnership. So the Port Authority and the Terminal 4 consortium is using some Port Authority financing vehicles, but the amortization of that debt over time is all covered by the carriers operating the facility. So it's a perfect partnership.
Tom, we're going to do off-topic back here after.
Yes. So what we'd like to do now, if you will give us about 45 seconds for all of our speakers to make their way to airside and prepare for the ceremony. There is a gentleman with an umbrella that should be lifted up high where everyone can walk past Brook Brothers, hang a right, and you'll walk down the steps or use the rampway to get to the groundbreaking ceremony. Thank you very much.